Do you ever wish that you could just do some magic and catch the person in the act who's been lying to you? Most of us do. Unfortunately, unlike in the movie Liar Liar, you can't just magically force someone to lie all the time or catch them. But you don't need magic to catch a liar. You just need to know some simple techniques that anyone can do, and we'll provide you with at least 7 techniques on how to be a human lie detector. Welcome to Talk to Communicate, where we discuss all things communication, law, conflict resolution, and negotiations for everyone. I'm Steve Mehta, a communication specialist, an attorney, and a professional mediator for over 29 years. So how do you catch a liar? Well, before we discuss that, you should know that people are lying to us every day. Sometimes a simple white lie, but other times it's huge whoppers. Here's some shocking statistics. 60% of adults cannot go 10 minutes without lying. 36% of people surveyed admitted to lying on their resumes, and by age 4, 90% of children know how to lie. 90% of middle schoolers admit to lying or cheating on homework, and most people lie about 2 to 4 times a day. 1% of people tell over 20 lies a day. And the average person can spot a lie about 50% of the time. And with proper training, anyone can improve their ability to become a lie detector. Flip a coin to see if a person's lying, or start practicing these techniques to catch a liar in the act. And if you're like Jim Carrey in Liar Liar, you can badger the witness to get the truth.
Mrs. Cole, is this a copy of your driver's license?
Yes.
It says here you're a blonde, are you? If you don't remember, perhaps Mr. Falk will.
Brunette.
We can play the tape again. Maybe it's on there.
I'm a brunette.
Thank you. Now let's see. Weight 105? Yeah, in your bra.
118. All right, fine. I'm 127.
Uh-huh. And it says here you were born in 1964, but that's not true either, is it? Is it?
No.
Can you tell me what it says here on your birth certificate under date of birth?
Your Honor, I object. What does this have to do with anything?
Overruled. Mrs. Cole, answer the question.
1965.
Now, let me get this straight. That would mean that you lied about your age to make yourself older. But why would any woman want to do that?
I changed it so I could get married.
And the truth shall set you free!
And if you're like most of us, you don't have to have Jim Carrey's comedic talent to get that truth. You need other techniques. Most people that lie are uncomfortable with the lie. As a result, they may say one thing, but their body reflects a different message. Scientists have shown that over 90% of communication is not the words, but with the nonverbal things like posture, facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, and tone of voice. Polygraph lie detectors work on the same exact concept. A polygraph looks to see if the body reactions, such as pulse, blood pressure, skin conductivity, and other signs are inconsistent with the words due to the stress created on the body when lying. Here's an example of how the lie detector works.
I noticed you were looking at that when I came in.
Yeah.
It's an antique polygraph machine.
Is that what that is? Because I've seen these before, but I never saw one actually up close.
You know what? Why don't you try that on?
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, come on. We'll have some fun. I'll show you how it works.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
Well, why should you be afraid? You have nothing to hide.
No, I know.
I know you know, so there shouldn't be any problem.
No, there's no problem.
So, try it on.
Okay.
I'll help you. Don't worry. You'll enjoy this. All right.
Looks complicated. Now, these aren't 100% accurate, right? They're...
Well, you'd be surprised how accurate they are. They can tell fairly easily if someone's lying or not. Now I'm going to ask you some questions, and all you have to do is answer yes or no.
Okay.
All right. Let's give it a whirl. Did you fly on an airplane today?
Yes, I did.
No peeking. Did we eat pot roast for dinner tonight?
Yes.
Was it undercooked?
No, it was rare. It was a little rare for my taste. But I
I'm
would.
just kidding. I'm just... Relax, relax. The needles are jumping. Have you ever watched pornographic videos?
No. I mean, well, I don't.
Yes or no?
When working on lie detection, you can break down techniques into nonverbal techniques and then question and answer based. So let's first look at nonverbal techniques. When testing for lies through nonverbal techniques, you first need to establish and understand the truthful baseline. Just as with the polygraph machine, you should always get a baseline first when watching for visual or nonverbal signs. Just like Robert De Niro did when he was asking questions that he knew were truthful and questions that he knew were false. Asking questions that you know are true will help establish a baseline reaction. You can do this through everyday conversation and watch for how the person reacts to those things. 4 to 5 minutes of baseline conversation on any topic is sufficient as long as it's consistent with a normal conversation where people might just make small talk. Just as with the polygraph, one sign by itself is not enough. You need a cluster of indicators. The more signs or more nonverbal inconsistencies that you observe, the more likely they are lying. This is called the cluster effect. Usually within the first 5 seconds of when you notice a lie, you will also see the resultant signs. After that, the mind has time to react and consciously adjust its body mechanics, so you can't rely on those things after 5 seconds. Second, watch if the person is touching their mouth or nose. You're watching for the Pinocchio effect, and it's real. When people lie, their nose actually gets bigger. According to researcher and nose specialist Dr. Alan Hirsch, the nose gets engorged and swells when people lie. You won't be able to see this visually. However, what you might notice is that the nose may turn red, partly because of internal swelling and the body's normal reaction to swelling by bringing blood flow to the area. The body also reacts to that swelling by creating the urge to itch the nose. Subconsciously, the mind wants to also cover up the lie due to the internal contradiction from the lie and its internal state. It will lead to people involuntarily or unconsciously trying to cover their mouth or above their mouth at their nose. According to Dr. Hirsch, Bill Clinton covered or touched his nose 26 times when lying and didn't touch his nose when he told the truth. It's essential to understand that just touching the nose alone is not proof of lying, but rather just one marker for consideration along with other indicators.
And I told her that if they asked her for gifts, she'd have to give them whatever she had, that's what the law was.
Well, not only did you not try to involve her, you specifically tried to exclude her and everyone else, isn't that right?
So next, watch the person's hands. Watching a person's hands is a great way to see if a person's going to be lying to you. The reality is what a person does with their hands can give you clues if they're lying. You already saw the nose, but sometimes a hand could also be covering the mouth. This can be a sign of hiding the lie too. Hand gestures should also be taken in context because many are natural and form up normal conversations such as yawning or embarrassment. A gesture that might happen is that hands are either hidden in the pocket or behind the back. This can be a sign of hiding something. Are their hands shown in a closed position instead of an open position? Open hands are a universal sign of trust, while closed hands are evidence of something being hidden, aggression, or deceit. Hands can also be used as a grooming ritual, which is an unconscious way of calming oneself down when under stress and lying. This stress could be from being nervous, from lying, or other factors, and it could be part of a grooming routine. You need to look at the specifics of that grooming and that hand gesture and that activity. Is it out of context? Does the grooming need to happen? Are they playing with their clothing or are they touching their hair? And is there a reason for that? Sometimes a person touches their temple due to the stress and then realizes, oh my God, I'm giving away my information and my position and I'm showing that I'm lying. So they go to groom their hair. Recently, a person would touch her jewelry on her neck every time she lied. Look at the context of the hand gestures. When the hand movement comes unnaturally after the event. An example is a hand going to the face and then going to another location. Or it could be an unnatural and robotic move. Another thing to notice is if the person was using hand gestures previously and now the hands are still. This is usually a sign that the person's concentrating on creating a story for the lie. So next, listen to the tone of the person's voice. When people are lying, they will maintain oftentimes a monotone voice or raise their voice to a higher pitch. Researchers in France found that the voice pitch may rise and the speech pattern may slow down when someone is lying. So let's look at Bill Clinton's rehearsed and famous retort about sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
He slowed down the speech pattern because he was consciously thinking of what he had to say and became more monotone as a result. The last nonverbal clue is not really a nonverbal clue, but it involves the choice of words. When most people speak, they use conjunctions as a part of their everyday language. However, when people are lying, they have a harder time using those same conjunctions because the brain's making up the story and is under cognitive overload. They are thinking hard about how they can lie to you and how they can do that plausibly. That takes up mental energy. For example, they may say, I did not instead of I didn't, or I was not instead of I wasn't. Let's look at Bill Clinton again for this example.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Compare what was said to what normally would be said. I didn't have sexual relations. He was forced to think of how to answer, and that cognitive process eliminates conjunctions. Again, look at the baseline patterns to understand the person's usual speech patterns. Now that we've uncovered some nonverbal ways, we should look at things to affirmatively expose the lie. Researchers from Sweden wrote in a journal of applied cognitive psychology that there's a 3-step approach to increase the chances of catching a liar dramatically. First, create a cognitive overload. Lying takes more mental energy than telling the truth. Adding extra tasks makes it harder for the person to maintain that lie. So ask that person to do something, such as holding something, maintaining eye contact, or even as simply as asking them to help you load the dishwasher while you're asking them questions. Second, encourage the liar to say even more. The more a liar is required to make up stories, the greater the cognitive overload. The human mind typically can only keep 7 to 10 items in short-term memory. The more stories, the more items overload the brain. Third, ask unanticipated questions on minor points. Don't address the primary lie. Address the minor issues. If they get defensive on the little points or get taken off guard, this is taking them off their rehearsed story. Another technique is that when someone tells you a story of where they were or what they were doing, and you think they might be lying, encourage the speaker to tell you more. Simply add to or expand their story with a wholly made up but possible vignette. If the person was lying, they wouldn't know that you just made that story up, and they will agree with you to throw you off the trail of you catching them in the lie. Here's an example. Your teenager says he came home late because he stopped by his friend Mark's house. You would answer with, the news showed a video of a police situation that was happening right by Mark's house. Did you see that? Or you might say, did you see Ryan there? Because Ryan said he was also at Mark's house. The liar will not know if this is true since they weren't there, so they agree with you to protect the cover story. At this stage, you might decide not to confront the liar, even though you know that they're lying. Another example might be when a person says that they were late due to traffic on the freeway. You could make up a motorcycle accident that was on the news. If the person agrees with you, they're doing so because they don't know whether there was an accident or not, and they're trying to throw you off the trail so that you don't catch them in the lie about being late. Another thing that you can do is to have the liar have to work overtime is to ask some of those innocuous questions out of order in timing. The liar has rehearsed the story chronologically. Asking questions out of order will force them to think, how do they have to piece these stories together? Oftentimes they'll mess up on the order when retelling their story. The last thing you can do is to watch for the liar repeating questions. Liars are making the story up as they go, or they've rehearsed it. They need time oftentimes to make up that story. So when you ask them a question, they will often repeat the entire question to buy themselves time to answer that question. Truthful people can repeat the question also, but they usually only repeat a small portion or rephrase a bit. But a person who's lying will repeat the entire question. Here's an example. Did you run the red light? A truthful person might say, no, or repeat a portion such as red light? Or, did I? No. A liar will usually say, did I run the red light? No. If you want to learn more about becoming a human lie detector, look below for the links to some books and research on the topic. And if you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to see more Talk to Communicate strategies, or just click the videos above, and we'll see you next time.